everybody, welcome to my channel. In today's video I want to talk about my entire admission process, and it might seem a little random to you because it's been a while ago, but I actually was requested to film this video by one of you guys in the comments, and I put it on my list and I decided to film it later, but I wanted to talk about it in as much detail as I can. And you might be wondering why I didn't film it in the process, and if you know me for a long time, if you watch my channel for a long time, you probably would know that I would make, back in the days, I would have like months long breaks between my videos because I was so very stressed. I did not want to talk about anything concerning admissions to schools. Would you want to talk about things that you're so stressed about? And I was applying to schools, I was working at my job, I was having a great time there, and I remember being so very stressed. I had a full-on meltdown. I had a full-on, like, on the floor crying at my house because I didn't know what we were gonna do with our lives. We lived in a rental apartment. We got a short lease because we didn't know if we were gonna move. If I got in, we would have to pick up and move to a different state, and we didn't know where. We felt like it was very uncertain, and I was just crying my face off, thinking like, I can't do it again. I cannot go through it again. If I don't get it now, I'm just never gonna apply again. And it was super stressful for me. I did not want to film an interview process, a vlog over school, and be so excited about the school and later have to tell you guys that I didn't get in. So that is why I didn't talk about my admissions process. I didn't talk about the interviews. I didn't film anything. So I guess now, I didn't even think I would film this video, but I've been reminded about it in the comments, so I'm filming it now. And I just wanted to mention that if you're going through such a stressful time right now, if you're applying right now and you feel very stressed and you feel like you're never gonna get in, don't worry, chances are you will. I've been there too, I've gone out of it, and life on the other side is so much better, and it's gonna end soon. You're gonna be okay. Just don't stress, because retrospectively thinking now, it was all so based on nothing. I was just completely wasting my nerves on something that didn't worth it, because if I was just patient and I didn't have to think about applying again because I got in. So just relax, just watch this video and relax. So in this video I decided to make kind of a story time situation and tell you about all of my admissions process. I want to tell you about what I started with, my applications, when I received the answers. I went through my phone and found the emails from schools to tell you exact dates when schools send their invitation for interview, when the interview happens. So if you apply to those schools, you will kind of know what to expect. It might be a long one, so get yourself a snack, get yourself a cup of coffee, settle down, and let's get right into it. So if you watch my videos for a while now, I completed my NBD a little late. The application's on CAP, it opens in April, and I completed my NBD exam part 1 was on March 5th. March 5th was the date, and I was going to apply as soon as possible, but without part 1 you can't apply anywhere. So part 1 is kind of a gateway into application system. So I passed my NBD. I received my results. I actually don't remember when I received my results. I probably should have looked it up, but I received it like 3 weeks later, and I applied in early April. We live in Boston. We really love living in Boston, and I really wanted to stay here, and my first choice was BU and Tufts, of course. But in Tufts I couldn't apply because they require part 2 and I only had part 1. So Tufts closes early. They close in July or June, something like very early, and I just physically didn't have time to pass my part 2 for that, so I only was hoping to get into BU. I applied to 11 schools, about 11, I think 11. I say 11 so many times, and I actually believe that it was 11, but I think it was like 12 or something. I do think I filmed a video about it, so go down, and if you want to know more about how many schools exactly I applied, I did film a video about that. So I don't know exactly to how many schools I applied, but I want to say 11, and I received 4 interview invitations and I got into 2 schools. So I want to talk about the first schools that I got a rejection from was UPenn, but technically I didn't get a rejection from UPenn. I did apply there, I received a confirmation from them, but their interviews, they said in their confirmation email that we conduct our interviews in June and July, and when August came around I was like, okay, they probably don't want me there because I didn't receive anything, and to this day I still didn't receive any rejection from them or any kind of communication after they confirmed that they received my application. That was it. So I don't know, it's kind of rude to me. Like, why do you, I understand you don't want me, like, duh, it's been a long time, but still, kind of, you know, it's nice to say sorry, but no thanks, but no thanks, which I didn't hear from them. So that was the first school I kind of realized that it's not gonna go there. I wasn't really stressed back then because I did not want to go to UPenn. I was not interested in living in Pennsylvania at all, so I was not really upset. And I know it's a very high-profile school, so I kind of knew I didn't have a shot there. So the first official rejection I received from Michigan. Oh my god, I actually wrote it down. I received their rejection on August 15th, and it was my actual first, you know, communication from any schools that I applied to. So of course it wasn't fun for me to receive a rejection from them. They said, like, no, you didn't make the cut at all. No wait list, no nothing. So that was okay too. I knew I wouldn't get in there. It's also a very high profile school. I knew I didn't have a chance there. So yeah, I was of course not happy, but I wasn't too depressed by that. I did become depressed after I got a wait list from University of Buffalo, because I actually did think I had a shot in Buffalo. I was like, Buffalo, you could like me, why not? And I remember I wrote it down, I got my wait list on August 19th, and they actually call it like continuing review or something. They don't call it a wait list, so you kind of like, what does that mean? So they basically told me they put my application in continuing review, and because they still have spots, they will keep reviewing it. So they weren't particularly clear, but to me, I realized, okay, this is a wait list. There is a chance. So I came to my work. I think I was at work at that time, and I asked a guy who worked at reception at my office where I worked. It's like, dude, what's waitlist? What do you think? And he said, well, basically you have to hope that somebody who did get invited dies. I'm like, okay, I already do, so I'm there now. Anyway, so I got waitlisted in Buffalo, and that's when it got really like depressing, because 3 schools said no. You know, I didn't get any positive feedback yet. So, and it was already August, so I knew the interviews were going on. I was in Facebook groups, I was passing my NBD part 2, and I started seeing people receiving their acceptances, and I was like, oh my god, I'm being left behind. And then when I actually started getting the meltdowns, because I thought there was no chance for me to get in. But the bright side happened on September 3rd, was when I received my first interview invitation to University of Oklahoma. And I remember I was walking from work. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, so it was pretty late. It was the end of work day, and I received my invitation, and I was like waiting on a stoplight to cross the road. I was like, what? I was so happy. I don't think I've been happy. I think my wedding day wasn't as happy as that interview invitation. I kept repeating, like, I can't believe they want me. Like, me. I received already 3 rejections, and I could not believe they wanted to see me, because I knew that University of Oklahoma is one of the smallest schools. Their class is the smallest. I couldn't believe they wanted to actually see me. So I was over the moon happy. I responded to them, I accepted the interview, and I started preparing for the bench test, because their school required bench test and a written exam, and I was not ready for either of those. Before that, I knew that I should have studied for bench test before I received my invitation, but I didn't do it, of course. I leave everything for last minute, and I was not prepared at all, and my prepping skills were awful. So that's when I got my compressor. That's when I actually started studying. So luckily they left me a month to prepare, which was plenty of time for me. Apparently it was enough. Interview was scheduled for October 4th. They left you a month, which is a nice, good time to prepare for an interview. And interview fee was $1,100, which is a lot, but I mentioned it in my previous video that remember that interview is additional fees. The more schools you get invited to, the more fees you pay. So it's very important to leave the budget for that. So I was prepared for that. I paid the fee, and if you want to know how I prepared for my interview, I do have a video about that, so I will link it somewhere in the description, or if I figure out how to link it in the screen, so you do go watch that. So I explain how I prepared for the interview. I'm not going to talk about it here. We arrived there on October 3rd, and it was very bizarre to fly there because Oklahoma is not a very popular destination, and we were flying from Boston. Of course there's no direct flight. We went through Chicago, took 2 flights to get there, and my flight from Chicago was like on the teeniest airplane, you know, one of those like that fly so low that look kind of like those farm airplanes, and you couldn't even take a carry-on on the flight because it was so tiny, there were no room. And I was like, where am I going? I was so like shocked about where am I going. But anyway, when we landed there, it was very nice airport. It was small but very well organized, very clean. We had very good first impression of the town. We really liked it. It was very weird because I've never been in the like west of the country. I've been to the south, I've been to Florida, but I have never been west. So it was kind of an interesting experience. It was very flat, which I liked. We stayed in the hotel called Embassy Suites, and it's right by the school, so I could walk there. The first day we went exploring, we went walking right by the school. And you know how medical centers, back then I didn't know that, but now I know that medical centers are always located in the worst part of town. So it was kind of scary because we started walking and there was nothing. There was either like plain field of nothingness or like very cheap housing, like kind of scary neighborhood where you don't want to find yourself. And yeah, that was kind of okay. That was a first turn off of the school that I didn't particularly enjoy, but I do recommend staying in that hotel. Embassy Suites right by the school, perfect place. I loved that hotel. It was very nice. A few other girls stayed in that hotel with me, so I kind of knew some people there. It was nice, and I could walk to my interview, which was really good. So we had a group of people who we created a WhatsApp group, so we kind of knew everybody who were coming. There were 30 of us invited and 12 people got in, so it was actually a pretty good chance. If you got invited to an interview, you had almost a 50% chance of getting in, which was nice to know. So we did kind of know everybody who is going to the interview, and nice thing that I actually did know somebody who were also invited. It was one of my friends who I met through YouTube. We were talking on Instagram, just like a lot of you guys DMing me on Instagram. That's how we met, and we actually became really good friends. So you know who I'm talking to. Nida, if you're watching, hello. I just had to do it, sorry. So now I want to talk about the particular interview time. So we all arrived early, so it was like 8 o'clock. I always arrive very early. I'm never late because I believe that early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. I told that in my interview prep video, and I arrived there. There were one other person, so I arrived that early. I don't think I probably arrived half an hour before the interview was supposed to start, but there were only one person there, and I was like, okay, am I there? Am I at the right place? So we were all waiting in the hallway before we could actually enter to where the interview were conducted. When more people arrived, we entered to this big hall, like a classroom situation. Before COVID, it's weird because we were all sitting in the same room without masks, and there was a breakfast for us provided. It was like a continental breakfast. I love those things. I love having like some fruits, some baked stuff, coffee. It was all there, and it was really nice, so we could chat to each other. And interviews didn't start for a while, so we all kind of knew each other because we talked online. It was a really nice group. We had such fun. We all became like friends. When we were leaving, we were like saying goodbye to each other like best friends. It was amazing. We had an amazing time. So first part of the day was the interviews. So each person goes through 2 interviews. Each person is interviewed by 2 independent professors. No interviews have connections to each other. You talk one by one with the professor, and then you go through a second one. And they were conducted kind of weirdly. It was no particular order, so it wasn't alphabetical. It wasn't in any specific shape or form, so you could be invited to first interview first and to the second interview last. So you kind of didn't really have, you know, you were afraid to leave the room to like go to the bathroom or something because you were afraid that you were going to be called to an interview, which happened to a couple people. And you definitely do not want that to happen to you, because that's kind of a weird first impression when a professor comes in to call you and you're not there. If you're like me and you get cold all the time, the room was freezing. I was so very cold. So I really wanted to leave that room, but I couldn't. My interview experience was very positive, and all of the professors were very nice. As you know, if you watched my previous video about interview prep, I knew everything about those professors. The school is very little, and the staff there's not a lot of staff. So I researched everything I could about every single person in that school. So whenever they would come and call us, I knew what to talk to them about, which was nice. So I wasn't surprised. And everybody was super nice. There were no professors who were like asking tricky questions or were rude like there were in BU. There were only one professor who was like kind of making jokes and kind of did ask some tricky questions and was like, what if you fail? He would ask like, well, your grades are so low, why do you think you deserve, you know, coming to the school? And he was, I don't know if he was joking, he didn't fail anybody, like it was okay. Everybody who was, people who were interviewed by him got in, it's fine. And he would walk into the classroom and ask like, okay, my next victim is, and he would name the last name of the person who was about to interview, which is kind of weird, but he was joking. Like he wasn't, it didn't feel like he was mean or scary. We didn't want to be interviewed by him because we were kind of scared of him because he was so like, you know, kind of trying to play cool. But nonetheless, it was all okay. Like I can't say anybody had a bad interview experience. Everybody had a really good time. After we were interviewed, we had lunch. We had chicken curry. Oh my god, that was such good chicken curry. And it was from a place called What's Cooking, which I thought was really funny because Oklahomans really love puns and I thought it was a funny name. But anyway, during the lunch, we had lunch all together with the professors who were interviewing us, which was a very great chance for us to make another impression and talk to them a little bit more and like introduce ourselves in a less formal environment when we were all eating together. The dean introduced himself and I found it so cool that he was such a genuine, nice guy. He was not, you know, high up. He was not like trying to elevate himself. He was one of you guys. He was just making jokes, talking. He introduced all the professors and he would just sit with you at the same table. He would laugh at your jokes. He was so down to earth, which was part of the reasons I decided to go there, because when a dean behaves like this, you can assume that the school is performing good. After that, the aspect class, the previous class, so the class above us, came to meet us, and which was super helpful because we could actually talk to somebody who's already going through that program and we could find out things we couldn't ask the professors. So it was really nice to, you know, meet some people who are already there, to ask how the program is in general. They gave us a tour around the school. A small group of us with the student from a upperclassman went around the school and looked at all of the, you know, everything there were to look, everything there were to see, because the school is very small and there are only 5 floors, I think, and it's all circular, so you can never get lost. It's kind of shaped like a beehive. So it's a circle basically. So we walked around, it was super nice. I enjoyed my experience very much. But then was the very scary part, and probably one of the most difficult part of that interview, is the exam. And we all sat down and they gave us this printed paper with a test. There was about 50 questions of a test and it was all on partial dentures. And I was like, I didn't know anything. I had to guess everything because they told me that they were going to be examined, and I think they said prepare for pedo and ortho, and I knew that the school is very focused on pedo and ortho, and that was pretty much the only thing I was reading. And seeing partial dentures was just a shock for me because I knew none of it. I was just reading through the questions. I was hoping for it to end because I thought it would be like comprehensive about everything, you know. And the partial denture questions just wouldn't end. All of the test was about partial dentures. So I don't think any of us was prepared for it. I can't say any of us passed that test well, because after we exited the school, we were kind of like talking about it, like what was that? And none of us was sure about the answers. So I think they kind of disregarded the test, just my personal opinion, because I don't think anybody was good at it. Don't be afraid of the test. Chances are everybody will suck at it. So I think they change it every time. It seemed like just random questions from their exams. So I don't think you will get partial dentures this year, but there's no way to know what's going to be on the test. So I don't think anybody did good. Next day, on the 5th, that was Saturday, we all went to a bench test. The bench test was very simple, in my opinion. They told us what's going to happen on the bench test. We had to prep for crown and for class 2. So basically, full gold crown. So it's basically one of the easiest rounds. And we could all bring our own instruments, but they told us in the email that we have to prep for a prep and fill. So we had to fill class 2, I think they said composite and amalgam. So that was the part that I was most stressed about, because I could prep, but I wasn't sure I could like sculpt well with amalgam. Like how many amalgams I didn't do any amalgams, frankly, in my life. So I was very stressed about that. But when we arrived to interview, he said, forget about it. If you have a good prep, we're sure that your filling is gonna stay. So the prep is the most important part. Don't worry about filling, just do a good prep. Which was nice to hear, because I was kind of worried about it. That was my most worrisome part. And everybody, there were people whose husbands and whose relatives went to the school, so a lot of people arrived with a specific set of instruments. Like they knew what instruments they would need to prep the teeth, but I didn't. I only brought my burrs and like my mirror, my enamel hatchet, and my marginal something trimmer. I don't use it. I didn't use it, so whatever. Enamel hatchet was probably the most important thing I brought. But whatever it was, they provided everything that you could possibly need. I was surprised that a lot of people didn't bring any loops, which was strange. That I was just looking around and people were like inside of the mouth. They were like looking at it so closely. And I did my research, and I knew that University of Colorado, where I also applied, were very particular about your posture and like how you sit by the patient. I was like, what are you doing? And I was trying to, you know, sit straight. It was incredibly cold in that room too. I don't know what, hot climate and ACs, people just go crazy. When it's hot outside, people blast their AC, and I was freezing my face off. Plus, I was nervous, I was shaking, so my loops were like jumping up and down on my head because I was shivering. And I couldn't see what I was doing. I was like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? Because I can't see. I can't prep. And finally, like after maybe half an hour, I calmed down and I finished the prep. I actually finished, not the first one, but in the early group. Like there were people left behind after I was done. So it was fine. there were plenty of time to complete it. Don't worry about the timing. And I kind of regret that I didn't use their burrs that they provided, because now retrospectively I think that it would be better for me to use what they provide you, because that would create the shape that they want you to get. And my burrs were kind of random because I got them from my work. But the only weird thing about instrument they provided, they only gave you red stripe burrs, so they were very fine. You would prep for hours with those. So that's kind of why I decided to refrain from those. After that was done, we were free to go. There were nothing. Oh, there were lunch. There was lunch there too. And at the same day, there were interviews for the American class, like for the regular incoming DS1 students. So we all had lunch together with them too, which we didn't talk to them at all. Like it was unimportant. We kind of had lunch and we all left. That's all. That was the whole interview process. But whilst I was in Oklahoma, I received a second interview invitation, which I was very, very happy to see. But at that point, I was kind of excited about Oklahoma. I really, really liked that school. And I received an invitation from USC on October 4th. I was waitlisted in USC, so interview was really close. I didn't have as much time to prepare. So basically, I was very happy to receive it. When we left Oklahoma, we went home. I was super worried because I really, really, really didn't want to go to USC. I don't know why, but that was not a school that I wanted to go to. I did not want to go to California. The flight would be so expensive from Boston. And I was done with one interview, and it was something that was so new to me. I was so excited about it. So I didn't want to go through a second one. I really wanted to get into Oklahoma and be done with it. I did get accepted to Oklahoma, as you know. I did receive my acceptance on the 16th, so October 16th, pretty much 2 weeks after. It was 2 weeks, so technically it wasn't that long, but it felt like it was a year. It felt so long because I was refreshing my phone constantly. Even at work, all I could think about is, where is the decision? That is all I could think about. I did not care about USC interview at all. I was like so out of it, and I knew that USC needed the wax carvings, and I did not know how to carve wax. I did not know how to do it at all. So I ordered all my instruments. I never opened them. I never used them. I'm pretty sure they're still in their packaging. But I was so hopeful that I would get in, so I didn't even study for the interview. But the interview for USC required an online interview first. So you had to record yourself on their website and post those videos, and that was due by October 11th. And as you know, I received my interview invitation on October 3rd or 4th. So that was really soon. I arrived home and that was my focus, so I started preparing for those interviews, but there was really no way to prepare. So you basically open your computer and you log in, and there are questions on the screen, and you have like 10 seconds to think about the answer. I do not remember what the questions were about. I remember they were kind of, well, they were not specific questions like you would think, you know, what would be asked in the interview. They were just like, what's your hopes and dreams or something. I can't even say what they were because I absolutely don't remember. I remember they were silly. They were not cohesive. I thought they were stupid at the moment, but I don't remember what they were now. I'm sorry, but I know that I didn't perform my best because A, I didn't want to go to that interview, and B, because it was just 10 seconds to think about it, and that's not the question that you would usually rehearse. I thought they were kind of strange. I received the acceptance from Oklahoma on October 16th, and the interview was scheduled for October 27th and 26th. I only had 10 days, so we were about to buy our plane tickets. We were like pushing it back as much as we could, waiting for the acceptance. And yes, finally we got it, and we canceled everything. I said, no, I'm not coming to USC. We didn't end up buying the tickets to California, which was good. I was happy. I was so happy when I received that acceptance from Oklahoma because I was not the first one to receive it. People started texting to the group chat, I got acceptance, wait for your acceptance, and I just wouldn't get it. I would be like waiting for it. It just wouldn't come in my email. People were getting accepted and rejected, and I just wouldn't receive anything. So I was pretty stressed, but eventually I did get my acceptance. It was all good. I started crying my face off, but it was emotional, but I was very happy. The other interview invitation I had was from Rutgers, and Rutgers requires part 2. So I applied there quite late. I did not expect to be invited there at all. I had a very bad experience with them because I probably applied in August when I received my part 2 results. So I applied there, and they required a a check for the fee payment, and you had to mail the check. We don't have checks, so we got a money order. We mailed it there, but there was some problem with their mail system, so the postman wasn't able to enter the building. So he would we would receive that our check wasn't received. We would receive a notification from the post, and we send it with like high priority mail because I think they don't accept like FedEx. They only required it sent by USPS. It was really annoying that we couldn't do this. We kept calling the admissions and they wouldn't respond or answer the phone and be like, I don't know. Absolutely unhelpful. So basically I had pretty bad experience applying there, and I received a invitation to the interview on December 13th, and I think I received my interview invitation sometime in November, but I already knew I was going to Oklahoma, and I actually screenshotted just now when I was going through my emails, because I thought they were so unprofessional, borderlining rude in their invitation. So all I heard from them, I received my invitation on November 12th. The email said, please confirm, nothing like congratulations, nothing that you would expect. All it says was, please confirm by Wednesday, November 13th, 2019. If you know you will not be able to make it, please allow another qualified candidate to be able to come. If I do not hear from you by Thursday morning, I will rescind offer. Thank you. There are no dots here. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. But there are like punctuations or typos. There are no like commas or dots at the end of the sentence. And when she said like, if I don't hear from you by Thursday morning, I felt like she was kind of threatening me. The official, paper is attached there as a PDF, but it was really weird email. And I just said, I will not be attending. That is all. I didn't say thank you for invitation. I felt a little offended. So they asked where I got in, and basically that was it. So I didn't go to Rutgers to the interview. also, I forgot that I was invited to University of Louisiana for an interview, but also it was after I already got into Oklahoma, so I didn't really care for it. But I didn't write it down. I didn't find that email because I completely forgot about them. Whatever happened after Oklahoma, I just forgot because it didn't matter to me. We were planning to move, we were finding a house, so I didn't care what happened after. But as you know, I'm not there. I'm in BU. So on April 30th of 2020, when everything was in lockdown, I received an interview invitation from BU. And I applied in April, as I mentioned earlier. And I was like, this is interesting. I texted my husband because I was studying for my endodontics exam. I had my finals week or midterm or something. And I was studying for my exam and I received this email. I said, this is a funny joke. It's been a year, but hello. I texted my husband and I was like, look at this hilarious situation. He was like, what? He was mad because he wanted to go to BC or BU or some better law school. He's in law school. Different story. But he wanted to go to law school and he went with me to Oklahoma and he was about to start University of Oklahoma law school. And it's not the best law school in the country and he could do so much better. So when he found out that I had a chance to go to BU, he was like, we need to try because I want to go to a Boston school. I emailed them and said like, okay, I guess I'll accept your invitation. Sure, weirdos, but okay, I accepted their invitation. I went through an online interview. I actually don't remember when my interview was because I couldn't find an email, because I scheduled my interview with the doctor, personally with the doctor who actually interviewed me, and it was through Zoom because everything was in lockdown. I interviewed, I think on Monday, and I received my invitation like in 2 days, later that week. And I received my invitation on May 7th. So the program starts in July. So that's how, I probably was one of the last people to get in. Well, as much as I could, you know, in my group who I talked to, I was the last person to get invited. Interview was Zoom, you know, and it was kind of weird. I kicked everybody out of the house because I was preparing for, you know, all I knew was in-person interviews. I didn't know how to hold myself during a Zoom interview. And basically what happened was, because people couldn't make it to the country because of lockdowns, they had some spots open. And they were looking for people who were in Boston, basically. And I was not in Boston, which I was very unhappy to report to them. And I told them that I'm in Oklahoma, I got into school, I'm enrolled into another program. And basically when I said that, because I didn't want to seem desperate, I didn't want to seem like I want to go to BU so much, please take me, because I thought that it was kind of weird to be invited so late. So I basically told them I'm in Oklahoma. And once I said that, the response that I got was, oh, we don't usually take people from other programs. I was like, okay, so this isn't happening. I was like, I'm not gonna get in, so I didn't care about how I conduct myself, what questions do I ask. So I was just kind of chatting with her. She was asking me like, how was Oklahoma doing during the lockdown? How was my school dealing with it? What was my classes? So basically that's how our conversation was. It was nothing about me. She did ask what was my previous experience with schools, which I did tell her about, like my school in Russia and everything, but particularly about my, you know, interests or anything that people ask me in Oklahoma. There were no questions like that. So when that interview was done, I was like, well, this isn't happening. There's no way I would get into this school. And I was so freaking surprised when I got an acceptance. Like, we kind of forgot about it because after this interview, I thought was like, there's no way. There's no way. So we forgot about it. We just lived our lives. And when I got an acceptance, it all kind of just exploded for a second because I was just taking my exams, minding my own business, and now we're moving. So my husband started calling the schools in Boston, calling law schools in Boston where he could actually go. And his program started in June, so he was like, everything was closed. All of the applications was closed. But long story short, if you want to know more about that, I have a whole video on why I left the program and how I ended up in BU, so you can watch that if you're interested. And that is pretty much it. The rest is history. I ended up in BU. I'm pretty happy. I'm happy with my education. relatively. I think I would be doing much better in Oklahoma, which I keep telling you all the time. You already know that, but I do love BU. It is a great school. It's an honor to be here. I'm very happy to be in Boston, where I'm finally calm. I'm finally like feel settled down, because when we lived in Boston before I got in, I didn't know where I was going to end up. Even when we lived in Oklahoma, I knew that we're going to have to move again. This is temporary. And now I feel like everything is quiet and calm. I know that the school in Oklahoma was better, but I enjoy my life here much better. So everything is well that ends well. That is my admission process in its entirety, and I'm sorry this video is freakishly long. If you made it here, you are a champion. You are, and I love you. And thank you so much for watching this video. If you have video suggestions, please leave them in the comments, and don't forget to check out my website because I'm freakishly proud of it and I made it myself. And I will see you in my next one. Bye!